All right, so what I did during WWDC week.
You're right, just keep talking.
Okay, 2 years ago, Ray Wenderlich decided it would be a really cool idea if we took an idea that was announced on the Monday of WWDC and published a tutorial about it at the end of WWDC. And he asked me to do it, and I wrote about CoreML. And last year, I wrote about CreateML and to recreate. And this year, it was pretty obvious I had to write about Swift UI. So I did. This came out Monday night about 11 p.m., which was 9 a.m. In the east coast of the US. So yes, you can go and look at it. Okay, now the problem was, that's not it. Problem was that Apple knew everybody was going to want to do this, and so they wrote this series of, really detailed tutorials themselves. And so, the app they did was one of these sort of list, they call it a list app, table views and things like that. And so you can go and have a look at that. So I decided that I was going to do this app instead. So if any of you have ever done iOS Apprentice, from Ray Wenderlich, and you did the Bullseye app, so it has a random number between 1 and 100, and it's got a slider, and you have to move the slider and try and get as close as you can to that number, and you get a score and stuff like that. So I did a version called RG Bullseye, and you have to match the color. Okay? So I think if you put lots of green and blue and you get yellow. No, that's not right. It doesn't look. So graphic designers usually are itching to get their hands on this and show me how to do it right.
Less blue.
Less blue?
Team effort, guys, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Green, that's red.
That's green.
More red.
More red. More green? You're So anyway, you can see it's a lot better than Bullseye because you got that sort of immediate feedback on it. And, well, obviously the thing you want to put on it is a timer. But anyway, so it does a score and things like that. So it does similar things to what Bullseye does. So that's the storyboard for it, and here you can see what the storyboard looks like. Right? So that's all the constraints and whatnot. And I think it uses stack views, I'm not sure. So that's that one, and it has a view controller, and the view controller has to connect up, of course, all of the...
So this is UIKit.
This is the UIKit version. So I wrote this back in 2015 for our WDevCon 2016, right? And it's been sort of updated to Swift 5-ish, and yeah, sort of Swifty. But yeah, so, back in the old days, this is what you had to do. You connect up all your objects, and then the key thing that's happening here is whenever the slider moves, you update the color of the target, sort of the guess, and you update the little text that's telling you what the RGB values are. Okay, so that's what you had to do. Okay, so here is, oh wait, let me show you the rest of it. So here's the game. So there's a a game class, Bullseye Game, where you sort of write things like you're going to do, and there's an RGB extension on UI color, so you can package up your RGB stuff. So this is all the code that's involved in it, right? Okay, that's it. Swift UI, that's it. All of it, including the preview. So that's the preview code down here. That is all of it. Doesn't do the little score things at the bottom, but it does the basic functionality of the app. Okay, so what you need to, so it's, you have a struct, content view, and you can put in variables in here. There are these state variables. Let me try and get something bigger. Okay, so you got some state variables. So that's the new concept that you need for Swift UI, which you didn't have in UI kit. But you know, that's just perfectly ordinary sort of code there. Then you have all these vertical stacks and horizontal stacks. Okay, so you just basically say, I want all these different things stuck into stacks. This is basically the sort of thing I would have done in the storyboard, build up my user interface using stack views. But that's all you have to do. Okay. And the code that updates the text values and updates the color values, it's all embedded. So instead, so what happens is, where are the sliders? So here are my sliders. And you see this little dollar? So that means that's a binding. It's like when you pass the address of your object in the C++ program. So you're passing a reference to it. And so it's in that, it's read-write access to this variable. So every time there's a change to the R value, the G value, or the B value, it immediately updates the user interface. Okay, so it's a little bit reactive stuff going on here. And so yeah, so as soon as these things change, here's my color block, the gray thing over here. The color block is being updated immediately as the sliders move. Okay, I didn't have to put any actions on the slider. The action is actually happening where the color is being added to the rectangle. Okay, and then there's these little text fields down here that are supposed to be saying what the RGB value is, and they're just there. When you define the text view, you define what you want the text to be, and that's, you know, interpolation just like you're used to. Yeah, so that's it. There's a button. Now, some of you may have done an extension on alert view controller because you were fed up, you know, having to do that long-winded thing every time you wanted an alert. Maybe you guys don't use alerts, but so, you know, alert view controllers and the action sheet controller, you know, it's really, they made it a lot more complicated to produce one. So a lot of people have actually defined like the simplest possible alert controller. It has an OK button or something like that. That's built in. So you can create an alert that basically just has an OK button and a message and a title, you know, just like the old days where that's all you had to do. The only complication is you have to put a dot presentation modifier, and this is basically a Boolean that you set when you want that alert to appear. Okay, so it was initialized to false. The button action, when I say hit me, the button action sets it to true. The alert pops up. The user says OK. That sets it back to false. So it then goes away. Okay. What happened here was I created a subview called color slider. And so at any point you can do something like that. So let's say the command you guys are all accustomed to the command menu. The command menu has that, oh dear, that's very small. Okay, take my word for it. The command menu has like jump to definition, show quick help, you know, that kind of stuff that you're used to. But it also has extract subview. So it's just like the refactor, you know, extract to method that you're used to. So you're encouraged to create reusable subviews, just like you would create reusable functions. Well, you know, once you see that you want to copy and paste something, you create a function. Once you see that you want to copy and paste a view, you create a subview. And SwiftUI takes care of making it all efficient underneath. Okay, so there's a edit. Whoops. And just like it works the same way as extracting methods. But there's a bit more in the then down here. There's also embed in HStack and embed in VStack. Okay, so if you're used to using stack views in Storyboard, what you can do in Storyboard is you can drag a whole bunch of things into your view, and then you can select them all and say, embed these all in a vertical stack or a horizontal stack. That's not, you can't quite do that yet. In Xcode, I imagine they're going to fix that. At the moment, all you can do is select one thing and embed that one thing in an HStack or a VStack. Okay? So the tutorial basically shows you all these different ways of building up your view declaratively. There is one thing that I didn't do in the tutorial that I tried out earlier today. So let's create a new one. So it's just a single view app that you're used to. The key thing is that use SwiftUI. Okay. And give it a name. Okay, and the first thing you're going to notice is there is no storyboard. There's a launch storyboard, but there's no regular storyboard. Okay? And this is where you get the preview. And it says hello world. Okay. Now, the thing I didn't put in the tutorial as well is you can only have one top-level view. All right, so if I put another text in there, if I say copy this text and put another one in, it's going to complain. Right? You also cannot have a VStack or an HStack. Come on. You can't have an empty VStack or HStack. Okay? So as soon as you put more than one thing in there, it wants to know, is it horizontal or vertical? Okay? And as soon as you insert a VStack, like if you were to insert a VStack, say using the library, whoops, come back here. Okay, it automatically puts a text placeholder in for you. But what I didn't, yes, it doesn't like it because the text is sitting on the outside now. So let's see if we can do something about that. No, it's not going to do that, okay. But, you know, if any of you like to do all of your layout in code, it's perfect. Okay, but what else you can do is you can, say, open up your library again, and you can, I don't know, get a slider. And you can drag the slider Yeah. Well, part of it is because for Ray Wenderlich, we have 2 space indentations, and it obviously is doing something else. But yeah, you have to keep fixing the indentation. But yeah, it stays in sync. What you see in the preview and what you see in your code, completely in sync. Okay? Which is quite an experience for you if you've ever used Storyboard or something like that. Okay, so let me show you this one. Now, what I haven't figured out is I can't get it to show the preview in landscape. Anyway, so down here that's the live preview button. And my colleagues tell me that if you have an iOS 13 device attached, that will deploy it onto your device.
It's debugging.
Hmm?
It's debugging.
Is it?
Let's debug view.
Oh, no, it doesn't do that. So the guys on the, really? The guys on Slack said that it goes onto your device.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's correct, yes.
Because it doesn't do anything for me, because I haven't got an iOS 13 phone. Okay, so you can, oh yeah, there's an but live preview is what it usually does. And let's see. Come on, you. It's not behaving. What you're on, oh, there it is. Okay, down here. Oh, you didn't like that. Hold on. What? Yeah. But what I was trying to show you is down here. Usually there's a spinner going down there. Yeah, you have to wait till the spinner stops. But yeah, once the spinner is stopped, then yeah. It actually, you don't have to put it in a simulator. You can do everything you want.
But you can't do a simulator, you can't.
You can. I mean, I showed in the simulator in the tutorial because in the simulator you can put it in landscape. But yeah, you can do everything you need. In here you can even, it does hit me, does all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else I want to tell you. So that's them. Now, for those of you who might be afraid to install Catalina, okay, first of all, the SwiftUI app will compile and run in Xcode 11 running on Mojave. You just can't see the previews. Okay, and the previews are the most fun part. But if you just, want to muck around with it and you're willing to run in the simulator to see what's happening, then you can actually do all your SwiftUI stuff in Mojave. If you want to see the preview, then you have to install Catalina. And you can install Catalina in a volume. There's a link from the tutorial. You can install it in a volume, not a partition. And you don't have to set aside a whole bunch of, you don't have to decide how much space you have to set aside for it or anything like that. It's just really easy. I could do it. And then you can get rid of the volume when you don't want to use it anymore. And the instructions down here for switching between the two versions, I found that more reliable than holding down the Option key when you restart. So what you do is before you restart, you go in and you set your startup driver to the other one, and then you restart. Everything's fine. And yeah, so you can install Catalina, you can try all this stuff out. You don't have to worry about messing up one of the Macs. And, oh yeah, and of course, books coming out. There's a link at the bottom of the tutorial, and the top as well, to go and do this. So you can get the bundle, or you can get $10 off pre-order on SwiftUI by Tutorials, and I am one of the authors. Questions?
Not so much a question. Just anyone that's interested in SwiftUI, we're going to set aside either a room or a part of the main room at the Hack Night next Wednesday for doing SwiftUI. So if you're interested in SwiftUI, whether you're at the very beginning or you're at Audrey's level, super advanced at this point. Feel free to come along. We will have a spot in the room, whether it's a section of the main room or a breakout room for doing SwiftUI.
So just make sure you RSVP to Hack Night next week
Yeah,
on
'cause you-
meetup.com.
Because you guys have some sort of a limit, don't you? Like 30 people or something? You have a limit of 30 people, a cap?
We have a shared limit because it's shared with GDG.
Yeah.
So we're flexible on the limit, but it's very helpful if you RSVP.
You can mix and match. You can have.
Oh, yes.
Did you try to compare the sizes? When you compare with SwiftUI and compare that, what is bigger, what is small?
Well, I mean, the size of apps that we make for Ray Wenderlich.
It can be enormously higher
It's not
with
going to make a
SwiftUI.
difference.
No.
But in terms of, oops, there's a WWDC session on integrating SwiftUI. So it's just like what they did with Swift. You can mix and match Swift and Objective-C, and you can mix and match SwiftUI and UIKit. So I was going to show you that. Hold on. Okay, you know, you've heard that they split app delegate into app delegate and scene delegate. Okay, and the scene delegate is where the window goes. So your window is in the scene delegate. And this is it. UI hosting controller, root view, content view. Okay, content view is the default name for this Swift UI view. And so this basically loads your content view in as the first view shown by your window. You take that UI hosting controller, you put it into your existing app, you give it the root view of your new Swift UI view, and your Swift UI view is in your app. It's that easy. It's that easy. There's a brand new Segway controller that you put in to replace the Prepare for Segway. Okay, and that's it. So you just build your Swift UI view and stick it in your existing app. If you want to take existing data classes or structs and you want to use them in a Swift UI app, you have to make them, and if their values have to update the UI, then you make them conform to bindable object and you implement did change. That's it. Oh, RX? No, I'm not a reactive person.
That's a different talk, that one right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious there's something going on that's very similar to what you expect to happen in the reactive app. But whether that's what they're actually doing.
So but in the same project you can have one Z or in the same project.
Reactive? Well, I mean, if you've got the reactive package in there as well.
I think it was asking, can you have UI kit and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We try to wrap up, and I actually have more of an answer to your question.
Right.
Have you tried the dot environment to rotate it?
Have I tried the...
Dot environment in the previews, if you use the dot environment and orientation, you can actually have landscape. Like you can change dark mode or light mode.
That's an environment variable you can pass in.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I had a look at all the environment variables. I didn't see one that was obvious. Which one?
It's the orientation.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Audrey.